This video goes over the cutting and shaping of the crepe paper poppy petals from an overhead view only with limited explanation. So here I'm taking the crepe paper from half of the fold of doublet. I'm picking which side I'd like to be the top. In this case, I'm choosing the pickety edge, the one with the red outline, but I could have just as easily used the bottom edge. So I've got half of the doublet fold, and what I did is I folded that into thirds. This is going to give me 3 pieces that are of the same length. Then I'm going to round the corners. And I'm only rounding the corners of the top edge. Most paper flowers require a lot of cutting. Poppies are kind of unique because you get a lot of flower with very few petals. So 2 of those pieces become 2 petals, but the final piece is folded in half. Here I'm rounding the corner and then cutting the fold. So now I have 2 small petals and 2 large petals and a total of 4 petals. And I'm ready to make the fans. The first step in the fan is to pinch and tuck toward the bottom quite tightly. And what this does is it sets the folds in the paper. It's going to make gluing and folding much easier. So for this first part, we're just really concentrating on making the pinching and tucking fan folds at the bottom of the petal. Your rounded edges will be at the top. You can also give your petal a good twist after you've pinched and tucked. I don't find that makes much of a difference in the final flower, but it is kind of a fun thing to do. After you've unfolded your fans, you're ready to glue. Dot a line of glue at the bottom, the edge with the squared edges. You're going to put your line of glue on each side. Then you're going to carefully pinch and tuck, and it's really important to work on a parchment or a wax paper surface here because you want everything, including the glue, to slide. You're going to give the bottom edge a really firm pinch, and then you're done. That's really all you need to do with the gluing. Sometimes students end up folding the bottom edge of their fans over, and avoid doing that. If you've found you've done that, just fix the bottom of your fan so that it's all in one plane and you don't have your paper overlapping. So let's talk about 8 different shaping methods. I've got them written on the parchment, and I'm going to narrate our way through them. When you finally get to shaping your petals, you really don't need to do more than 2 or 3 of these techniques on each one. The first one is in pinching and tucking and making a fan, which you just learned about. And then another method is to give it a good twist. And again, I don't find that the twist does all that much, but it is pretty fun. And a lot of other paper florists really like it. One of the best features of crepe paper is how it stretches. And so you can stretch along the top edge, and it's really, really nice. Another great thing to do at the top edge is to create a ruffle. What you'll do is you'll wrap the crepe paper, the edge of the crepe paper moving in around an orange stick or a skewer, paintbrush, a pen, it doesn't really matter. And then you're going to push the edges toward toward each other, and that will make a ruffle, and you can spread out the ruffle or not. Right now we are flaring the crepe paper, and that's when you stretch just below the edge, and you can flare up or flare down. The next thing to do is to cup the paper, and cupping the paper is something that you do toward the bottom of your fan. And oriental poppies are this kind of chalice shape because the petals are very, very cupped. And you can cup at the top or at the bottom. Right now we are veining, so in order to add veins to your petals, you're going to slide the your bottom nail and press it with your thumb and slide those along the petal vertically. And this will make lines in your paper. Sometimes the lines are not as durable as they could be, but I think it breaks up the texture very nicely. The next thing is, what if you happen to tear your petal? Doublet is very durable, so I doubt you will tear it, but you might. And if you do, it is not a catastrophe. In fact, it adds a nice spontaneous petal to your large and small petals. So what you do is, if you tear, you're going to make a deep cut V and not go all the way to the bottom, but just on the sides of the tear that you've made. And from there you can shape your petal, or I should say your petals, any way that you like. Let's have another look at that. So, whoops, I accidentally tore my paper. I'm going to make a deep V cut around the edges of the tear, all around the edges, and then whoop, I got a bonus petal. And I think these bonus petals are awfully cute. So if you do happen to tear your paper, it's not a big deal. In fact, you might choose to give yourself some bonus petals anyway. And poppy petals tear in nature, so it's not anything to feel bad about. All right, so here we have gone over the 8 different ways to shape your poppy petals, and I'm gonna go super fast here. This is 5 times normal speed, and I'm going to show you how you can combine some of these shaping techniques, especially on the larger petals. You can do several things at once. So you can cup, you can ruffle, you can cup going toward the top, you can cup going toward the floor. So here we have a petal that's cupped in both directions. You can flare, you can stretch, you can ruffle. And then once you have your center, you're going to take your sticky small petals and place them in opposite directions. In a way, it's as a clock face, 12 and 6. If your petals are not sticky, add some glue on them, but let that glue get tacky for a little while. You want your glue to be sticky or tacky and not slippery when you are applying your petals. I apply my petals face down so that I can push them very hard against the center and also pinch them on the wire. So for my second batch of petals, I'm going to put them on, if I were looking at a clock face, 3 and 6. Now, those larger petals often, when they glue, they become shaped at the bottom, even though we pinch them, as a semicircle, and that's great. You can slide that semicircle over the wire and really pinch it tightly down there. And you are done. Enjoy your flower. I wouldn't touch it for about 24 hours. Don't futz with it. And the next video will show you some finishing techniques to make your poppy look its best. Really pinch and tuck tightly against the bottom of the flower and put it in a vase.